Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of the Blackbird Grimoire. Welcome to the daily forecast for Friday, June 21st, 2024. It is the day of Venus. We have our full moon today. We are in the midst of Cancer season, the Celtic tree month of Oak, Woodpecker season, and Pluto retrograde. So let's talk about some of these shifts that we've had. First, Woodpecker month. And to get us a little bit more information about the overall spirit of this period of time, I looked to the Woodpecker birth totem and the Woodpecker animal symbolism. So the birth totem for the woodpecker is between June 21st through July 21st, at least in the northern hemisphere. It's associated with the direction of south. Interestingly, the water element, although usually with something is associated with the direction of south, you would expect to see the fire element, but for whatever reason, it went with water. Possibly because this is also taking place during Cancer season, so it might have to do with that. And it's associated with the stone of the rose quartz. Now, as a birth totem, this is considered someone who's tending to be very kind-hearted, community-oriented, caretakers for the family, perhaps a trifle possessive, but when they love someone, they're very devoted, they're very faithful, it matters to them, they will prioritize those relationships. And the lesson for this particular birth totem is learning how to let go. Now, that does correlate pretty strongly with what we would associate to be common traits of people who have Cancer signs. Now, for the animal symbolism, it's all about persistence. So that when life becomes challenging, you're not giving up. You are not just abandoning yourself to the depths of despair. Woodpeckers remind us that if we carry on and persist, we will eventually succeed, and that the call is to gather our strength, focus upon the success we're trying to create, and just keep one foot in front of the other. Just keep going. And for this purpose, if you're going to work with it, the woodpecker in this particular context, they suggest the crystals of garnet, jasper, and obsidian. So overall, this is giving us very similar vibes to Cancer, but it is providing an animal that is native to the United States. And the reason why I look towards, the Native American zodiac and everything else, it's not because I believe that the Native tribes had anything like the Western zodiac. At least I haven't come across that information myself. And I think that people just came up with it as a gimmick. However, it does serve the purpose of getting us better acquainted with the magical personalities and characteristics and capabilities of these various animals. And when their natures do tend to overlap with our traditional zodiac, we say, well, maybe someone did come up with this as a gimmick, but on the other hand, they didn't stray too far away from, the core energy of the season. So it's one of those that, we can take from things what we will, rather than getting too hung up over, the details. It's more so, this is a good excuse to learn about it, so we can make the most of that or not as we choose. Now, for the full moon today, it has been a week, hasn't it, gang? We had the solstice yesterday. Today we have the full moon. It is a full magical program. Now, some of the moons, names associated with the June full moon are Strawberry Moon, Hawthorn Moon, Rose Moon, Honeymoon, Strong Sun Moon, Moon of Horses. Really, a lot of these have to do with specific cultural connotations or what might be growing around this time of year. I see a lot of roses at this time of year, so calling June the Rose Moon, that makes a lot of sense to me. And honeymoon, well, June is a traditional month for people to get married, and their vacation after the wedding is often called the honeymoon. And so it makes sense to correlate that with the June full moon. But, whatever is jumping out at you, absolutely, there's no reason why you can't use the name. And of course, whatever term is really calling out to you, that might suggest an area of focus that your full moon ritual would benefit from. So for this particular full moon, it's about connecting with our inner visions and dreams, listening to the inner voice, understanding what it's saying, organize, clean, and really take a look at our yearly goals. So you see, it's not just me. Every so often on the 1st and 15th of every month, talking about how those New Year's resolutions going. You are getting nagging from a different source. But the correspondences for this moon are gold, because those are the sunshine colors. The herbs you might incorporate into your working would be parsley, mugwort, mosses, topaz and agate crystals, and of course, representations of the earth element. So for the full moon, as far as magically, it's talking about how the strawberry moon is good for anything to do with love, abundance, and prosperity. And because we are in Capricorn, the suggestion is that we focus on practical ways to make our inspirations, our hopes, our dreams come into life. It's wonderful to have this vision in our head, but we have to take the practical steps. And of course, with the Capricorn moon, that does afford us the necessary opportunity to think in a more practical, how do I actually accomplish this kind of way? Because this is so close with the solstice, and technically the solstice is really about a 5-day period, it is a good time for earth and fire magic, and also for magic that has to do with releasing anything that is really getting in your way of being a happy, contented person. If there's some kind of obstacle that you've really been struggling with, this would be a good full moon to give that the old heave-ho. So hopefully that's useful to you. Now, we're not done with astrology yet. We've got to talk about where all of the planets are. Pretty straightforward. The sun is in Cancer, cardinal water, representing intuition. The moon will begin in second quarter, Sagittarius, mutable fire, optimism. Then at 5:58 p.m. Central Time, it goes void, of course. And then at 6:08 p.m. Central Time, it will enter second quarter, Capricorn, cardinal earth, representing ambition. So you see, we're already getting a very different vibe. It's more about let's accomplish the goal. Let's get stuff done. And then 2 hours after that, at 8:08 p.m. Central Time, we then have our full moon. So definitely we'll be wanting to have evenings rituals for that. Mercury is in Cancer, cardinal water, representing hominess. Venus is in Cancer, cardinal water, representing frugality. Mars is in Taurus, fixed earth, representing purpose. Jupiter is in Gemini, mutable air, representing questing. Saturn is in Pisces, mutable water, representing nostalgia. Uranus is in Taurus, fixed earth, representing renovation. Neptune is in Pisces, mutable water, representing imagination. And Pluto is retrograding Aquarius, fixed air, meaning to examine intentions. And don't forget the Pluto retrograde mantra of reflect, heal, and evolve. Now, before we move on to our next phase, I just want to point out how our first 5, planets are really aligning together in a very pleasing way for us to accomplish goals and to bring those dreams into reality. Because we've already talked about, how the moon in its current astrological sign is going to really help us in that. And of course, with the sun being in Cancer, that means we can also incorporate our intuition. So we are involving already from the word go our material action, our intellectual capacity, our intuition, and of course also by extension, because of we are in Cancer, also our heart. So everything is working together the way that it should. Then you have Mercury, it being the homier atmosphere. It's also thinking about comfort, accomplishing goals, making things better. Venus is helping us do this in a very economical way. Mars is not letting us forget our purpose. And then, of course, with Jupiter being in Gemini, with that questing, that means we are still on an adventure. So it's coming together nicely. Things feel really very balanced for us to get some things done right now. So let's talk a little bit about the full moon. Full moons, of course, are always the time for manifestation and transformation. A couple of do's for the Capricorn moon are do strategize, do organize, do pursue your goals. Don't give in to ruthlessness. Don't get involved in emotionally delicate situations if you can help it. And don't get entangled with enforcement agencies. So Venus in Cancer nudges us in the direction of being economical. This is substance over style, function over form. And of course, the Capricorn full moon is also encouraging that spirit of practicality, as we've been discussing. So creating a plausible path forward for all of your plans. Your dream is still very alive. You're just giving it a little substance. You're giving it a little bit of grit. You are setting yourself up to actually succeed in that. Now, our tarot for today is the Nine of Stones, and it represents indifference, which is all about releasing and walking away. And then, indeed, that's the question that I wanted to bring to your attention. What are you ready to release? What are you ready to walk away from? Because if you recall everything we talked about, what's going on astrologically, it is all very much in that vein. We are getting rid of some stuff that we do not need. We are getting rid of things that have held us back, and we are walking towards the light. You'll see that in the picture as well. You know, she's walking away from her stone, things that would have been extremely heavy burdens for her to carry and to go on with, and she's heading off towards the sun. So she's heading off into the direction of projective energy, being proactive, making choices and decisions, and exercising her will. So that's very important. We can allow our burdens to be something that we just don't let ourselves get past. We think, oh, I don't know who I am if I put this down. I'm afraid of who this is. Am I betraying a want of feeling if I put this burden down? But in reality, all that it is that it's keeping us in a state of stagnation where nothing can really happen to us. So we do have to learn how to detach when we find ourselves in that situation so we can move into more projective energy to where we are back in the driver's seat. And it is about the choices we're making and seeing those through to their results. Today's Celtic Triad reads, 3 things which prolong the lifetime of a person: the soil which rears a child, the food which nourishes a child, and play which diverts a child. Interesting how these things are all about prolonging life and presumably also the enrichment of life. With the soil, we know that pagan spirituality literally begins with the spirit of the land. That's how paganism got started. Our ancestors realized that there was more than just the matter around them. There was also a spirit energizing it and behind it and inhabiting it with varying degrees of awareness. And so, you know, coming into a relationship with that. And of course, when you are in a better relationship with the land, you're listening to its cues, you are operating within its ebb and flow. And so from a purely practical standpoint, that can actually prolong the life. And then with food, physical sustenance is vital for development, and it's vital in order to sustain life. And choosing as wholesome foods as what we have available to us, that is going to gradually over time build up our bodies. I'm very, very suspicious if anything that's talking about quick results, whether, oh, we're just going to fix your health overnight. Oh, you're going to lose all this weight overnight. I am very, very suspicious. And people who I've observed going that right, oftentimes I see them experiencing complications. Right now, there's a lot of chatter and a brewing scandal over unintended side effects of people using things like Ozempic for weight loss. It was for a while there, it was the answer. But if you look into it a little bit, people are starting to say, well, I started having these problems, and yeah, I got issues that I'm going to have to do. And of course, we'll see what the outcome ultimately is as time goes on and as the effects of it are better understood. But it just goes to show, trying to go the quick and easy route, it's not always the answer that we think that it is. But slow, gradual, steady progress and change, that is something that is going to be helpful to us. And of course, that all does also prolong the life. And then play. Imagination, stories, dreams, these really shape the soul of a child. And we forget as adults that it also shapes the soul of us. And it can be, what books we're reading, any TV shows we watch, even podcasts we listen to, music we listen to, anything that we are taking in that falls under the broad spectrum of the arts, that is having an impact on our soul. And it is affecting, even on the energetic level, what's going on within us. So it does matter what we are taking in. You remember that old saying of you are what you eat. Well, what you are eating on the spiritual level, what you are eating emotionally, what you are eating mentally, that also affects your health, and it will, of course, shape who you are. And if you're making choices that build you up, overwhelmingly so, then of course that's going to prolong your lifetime. Of course, it's going to enrich you. But if you're choosing things that are degrading, things that are dragging you down, things that are making you less than you really are, or that distract you from your purpose in life, it's going to have a very bad impact. So it's just something for us to think about today. Now, today's magical intention, it is generosity. And I forgot to add a little something at the bottom. Oh, well. We will carry on regardless. But the color for generosity is pink. The plant is the primrose. The animal is the ram. And the crystal is agate. It can be very hard to cultivate a generous spirit in our current atmosphere because everything is so take. And it feels like everywhere we go, there's someone or something that is trying to suck the life out of us, literally, figuratively, to various degrees, sometimes a mixture of the two as it happens. So it can be, when you're having to be on your guard, when you're having to protect your energy, your physical well-being, your mental and emotional well-being, just all of the time, it can be very difficult to know when it's time to relax, when you see someone that is actually worth being generous to, when it is appropriate and sensible to allow someone in. And it's difficult, but focusing on this intention, looking for opportunities, and just listening to your intuition a little bit more, that will help you start distinguishing between the two, especially if that's been a struggle. Now, for our practice today, it's Friday, so that's when we honor our love deities. It's also a good day to work on our third eye chakra, learn a little something about our Venus signs, do the full moon ritual. I found that gorgeous picture of the moon on Pinterest. No accreditation, of course, because the people who sometimes who post the most awesome stuff, they're not saying where it's from or if they did it or anything else. But that little soapbox moment we can put away for now. But just look how gorgeous it is. Look how much of the dimension and the topography of the moon that they really showed off there. It's just so pretty. And of course, after the full moon ritual, probably a good time to have some quiet time with your sweetie. Just allow things to relax and to chill out because, as I mentioned before, it's been a busy couple of days, magically speaking. And last for today, we have our journal prompt. What are your plans for the summer, spiritually speaking? And for you to help inspire you a little bit, I found this cute picture of this summer witch. There actually are some artists who are doing a really good job of creating illustrations of witches and wizards throughout all seasons of the year. Not just during Samhain, when of course you might say that's our peak of the year, really, just because of how thin the veil is and how energized we are. And of course, after we come out of the sweltering summer, the crispness of the air just sharpens the senses. So it's not without reason that, we are kind of overwhelmingly in the ether at that time, but we're also seeing artists who are seeing who we are, how we function, and getting the spirit of things throughout the rest of the year. And I think that's very helpful to us as a community to think of as well, just because we aren't just witches on Samhain. We aren't just practicing during full moons and new moons. This is who we are. And we are always interacting with the magical landscape. That is the core of what we do. And it's just nice to see that represented. So, hope you found some bit of this interesting and or helpful. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. And of course, I will see you guys here tomorrow, bright and early, for the next edition of the Daily Forecast. But bye for now.